Well, hey there, this is Pastor Scott of the Lathrop First Christian Church, and I would like to welcome you to the Midweek Minute. I'd also encourage you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can become aware of when new content becomes available. I'd like to start this Midweek Minute by reading a quote not found in Scripture. It's actually by Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein said this, "You know, to me, the most beautiful things in all the universe are the most mysterious." I think that's a good quote. The most beautiful things in all the universe are the most mysterious. And there are times, especially when we're thinking of God, where there are mysteries of God that we cannot fully comprehend. In fact, this past week we looked at one of those, being the hypostatic union, that Christ exists with two natures, a divine nature and a human nature, and yet in one person. And I mentioned this is one of those struggles that you have trying to wrap your head around what that actually is. It's very similar to the Trinity. When we talk of the Trinity, we talk of one essence or one nature, and yet existing in three persons. And so again, another one of those real things that boggle the mind, trying to wrap our minds around it. And maybe we need to be thinking about Albert Einstein a little bit, that some of the most beautiful things in all the universe are the most mysterious. Well, the most beautiful thing in the universe is God. The most powerful thing in all the universe is God. And so it makes sense He's a little bit mysterious. But you know, God does reveal Himself to us, and yet He doesn't fully reveal Himself to us. And there's a good reason for that, I think. I don't think we'd understand it if He did. And here's why. I'm a finite being. How can I possibly relate to an infinite being? I exist on a timeline where I don't know the future, and I don't have a full knowledge of the past, and I don't even have a full knowledge of the present. And yet God exists outside of a timeline where He knows the future, He knows the past, and He knows the present perfectly. I can't relate to that fully. I can't fully comprehend that. That's one of those mysteries of God that yes, I can believe it, and yes, I can work through my own theologies and figure out how this works, and yet I don't fully grasp it. And I think that's just the way it is naturally, as we are the creation and He is the creator. We are finite, He is infinite, etc., etc. And so the Bible talks about mysteries of God in several different places, but one verse I just wanted to mention real quick is found in Deuteronomy chapter 29. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29 says this: "The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things revealed belong to us and to our children forever." God has revealed Himself to us in such a way that we can know who God is. We can love God. We can know who He is. We can know His holiness. We can know His justness. We can know His love for us. And yet, there's a veil in front of our face where we can't fully recognize that. And so I wanted to give you a little comfort today, because I know Sunday was a struggle for some of us, as it is pretty deep in the theological weeds, so to speak, when we talk about the two natures in the one person. And so I wanted to go back to Philippians chapter 2 for just a second as we end this. Now I wanted to go through this just again, maybe a little bit more succinctly. The hypostatic union, two natures. And we see that word nature used here in Philippians chapter 2. In verse 6 it says, "Who being in the very nature God." He is by His essence, He is God. Jesus is. But look what verse 7 says. But made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant. Again, both words have nature in it. But one starts out his eternal being. He is God from all eternity. But then it says he takes on, or he made and took on the very nature of a human being. That's when that second nature comes into play in the one person. And these two natures exist in one person, and yet they're separate from one another. They're not mixed together or anything like that. They're separate from each other, and yet in the one person. And that certainly is a mystery. There's a lot of mysteries about God, and yet we can see a little glimpse of that, of those mysteries, through Scripture. And I actually believe that on that final day, when we are in the full presence of God and that veil is removed, most of these mysteries are going to be fully revealed to us, and we're going to know it. And so I just wanted to give you some comfort this week if you was really struggling through Sunday's sermon. I understand it, but I wanted to give you some comfort in knowing that you can know God. And yet ultimately there are things about God that you don't know because we can't fully grasp those things. Again, my name is Pastor Scott of the Lathrop First Christian Church. If you want to reach out to us, our information's in the description section of this video. And I do pray this message finds you well.